This week's Parsha is Parshas Vayechi, and this week's video is sponsored as a schus for a shidduch for Rivka Yocheved Bas Rezel and Sarah Bas Rezel. As Yosef Tzaddik and his whole entourage is coming up from Mitzrayim to Eretz Canaan to bury his father Yaakov Avinu, the pasuk says, "Vayevayu ad Goyrin ha'atod." They came until the field of thorns, or the place of thorns. And Rashi explains why it was called the field of thorns, because when Yosef and all the Mitzrayim were coming with the whole procession to bury Yaakov Avinu in Eretz Canaan, the kings of Canaan and the Bnei Yishmaelim came out to protest. They wanted to wage war and say, no, you can't bury him here. But once they saw that Yosef, the viceroy of Egypt, his crown was laying on Yaakov Avinu's aron, on his coffin, they took their crowns and threw them onto the aron as well. So the spokes that were sticking out of all the crowns surrounding Yaakov Avinu's coffin made it look like a field of thorns. And that's why it was called Goyrin Ha'ato. I heard a vart from my Rosh Yeshiva of Shmuel Berenbaum Zatzal. And he said that over this vart to my 8th grade Rebbe, Reb Pinchas Wallerstein. When he was a bacher, when Pinchas Wallerstein was a bacher, Shmuel told him this vart. And he said like this: the Medrash says on this pasuk, Vayevayu ad Goyrin ha'atod, that the Mitzrayim, when they were accompanying Yosef and the Shvatim to bury Yaakov in Canaan, they made the Shvatim go behind them. However, when they came to Canaan and they saw the 31 kings of Canaan throw their crowns onto the aron of Yaakov, they said, no, the Shvatim should go before us. Frekter Shiva, what changed? What made a difference? What was the difference that they threw their crowns on the aron? What made that put the Shvatim ahead of them? So he answered beautifully. He said, as a bacher, it's very, very difficult to be a gadol. No one's born into greatness. It takes time, it takes effort. It's possible, it's doable. The time and energy you invest into your Torah, into your midas, into your davening, it's possible to become a gadol when you're a bacher or when you're very young. But it's not likely. Most people who became gedolim became a gadol later on in life, after they were older and wiser and had life experience and spent years and years in Torah and Tefillah and Midas. So when Yaakov Avinu first came to Mitzrayim, he was 130 years old. So the Mitzrayim thought, okay, listen, he's a very respectable man, he's wise, he's brilliant, he's a God-fearing Jew. We respect him very much. But not enough that the Shvatim should go ahead of us. Because okay, he became a gadol later on in life. But once Yaakov Avinu, his body, his coffin, came to Canaan, and the 31 kings of Canaan threw their crowns onto Yaakov's aron, respecting him very much, at that point, the Mitzrayim realized that even as a bacher living in Canaan, Yaakov Avinu must have been a gadol. Because otherwise, why would the 31 kings of Canaan throw their crowns onto him? The lesson from here is simple. That as a bacher, if you're still a bacher, keep steiking, keep growing. But even if you're older, we could still learn from Yaakov Avinu. Even if you're older, you could still become great. It's never too late. I heard a great line. The good old days, they're happening right now. You always reminisce about the good old days 20, 30, 40 years later. Those were the good old days. No, but they're happening right now. Because in 20, 30 years from now, you'll be thinking about the good old days. Even if you're not in yeshiva, which you call the good old days. Let's say you're married and you have kids that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. Okay, so in 30, 40 years, when your kids are 30, 40 years old, you'll be thinking, the good old days when my kids were such babies. If your kids are 20 years old now, you're there in Shidduchim, when you're going to be having grandchildren, you'll be thinking about the good old days. The good old days are happening right now. Make use of it. Steig, grow, work on your midas, work on Torah, on Tefillah. It's never too late to become a gadol. A gadol in anything you want to become. May we all be zeicha to continue steiging, continue growing, and to all become gedolim in our own right. Have a beautiful Shabbat.